Last month, France signed its proposed Bougival agreement, a deal to transfer certain sovereign powers to its overseas territory, New Caledonia, in the southern Pacific. However, earlier this month, New Caledonia's pro-independence political alliance, the Kanak Socialist National Liberation Front, or FLANX, voted against the deal, weakening it significantly and putting pressure on France's overseas minister, Manuel Valls, to salvage it on his visit to the territory this week. Meanwhile, the FLANX movement is calling for a more expansive agreement, setting out concrete steps towards independence, as well as demanding fresh provincial elections in November. So in this video, we'll explain why France's Bougival agreement has collapsed, the proposed new Kanaki agreement, and what might happen next. Explore which world leaders are winning and which are losing every week with our new podcast, The World Leader Leaderboard. Find it over on the TLDR Podcast's YouTube channel or in your favourite podcast app. First, let's start with some context. We also made a video on this when the Bougival deal was signed in Paris last month, so we've linked that in the description below. Essentially, New Caledonia has been a French overseas territory in the southwestern Pacific since 1946, having previously been a Napoleon-era colony. It became a French penal colony in the mid to late 19th century, with an estimated 22,000 prisoners sent to the territory. France also began mining nickel in New Caledonia in the 1870s, with the territory home to 10% of the world's nickel deposits, and the local industry today remains dominated by the French mining company Eramet. In the 1970s and 80s, political tensions rose, as New Caledonia was governed largely by French settlers, known as Caldoches, while the largest ethnic group, the indigenous Kanak population, remained marginalised. As such, in the late 70s, Kanak nationalist groups began organising politically and calling for independence. In 1981, after France's socialist president François Mitterrand took office, France introduced modest reforms decentralising administrative control and increasing Kanak participation in local governance. But after the 1986 elections, France's newly elected centre-right Prime Minister Jacques Chirac began undoing Mitterrand's reforms. This contributed to escalating violence, culminating in the 1988 hostage crisis on the island of Ouvéa, when FLANX militants killed 4 French gendarmes and took 27 hostage. France then sent in its special forces, killing 19 Kanak militants and allegedly capturing and executing another 3. To end the violence, the FLANX leader and France signed the Matignon Agreements, establishing an amnesty and shelving the issue of independence for 10 years. Then in 1998, both sides signed the Nouméa Accord, a major turning point in New Caledonia's decolonisation process. This set out a 20-year plan gradually transferring powers from France to New Caledonia and allowing up to 3 independence referenda, with the first 2 held in 2018 and 2020. In 2018, 56.7% of New Caledonians voted no to independence. In 2020, this fell to 53.7%, but the third referendum, held in 2021, was boycotted by FLANX due to the impact of COVID-19 on the poorer Kanak population, leading to a huge drop in turnout and overwhelming no result of 96.5%. Nevertheless, France accepted this result and doubled down on its position. In May 2024, President Emmanuel Macron announced plans to allow French nationals resident in New Caledonia for 10 years to vote in local elections, sparking protests from Kanaks who saw it as diluting their political influence. Violent riots ensued, with Macron declaring a state of emergency and deploying thousands of French troops to the territory. Anyway, last month Macron held talks with New Caledonian officials, which produced the Bougival Agreement, officially the agreement project of the future of New Caledonia. This would establish a state of New Caledonia with certain sovereign powers, including diplomacy and justice, but which would remain part of the French Republic and be enshrined in France's constitution. It made 3 main proposals: a Caledonian nationality held alongside French nationality, allowing French citizens to vote in New Caledonia's local elections after 10 years of residence, and an economic and financial recovery pact involving a renewal of the territory's nickel processing capabilities. However, earlier this month, the deal was rejected by New Caledonia's pro-independence parties, which voted against it, effectively torpedoing the agreement, a move Macron's overseas minister Valls called incomprehensible. Their main objection is reportedly the lack of another independence referendum, following the disputed 2021 result. Macron argues that the 2021 result is final, and that instead of holding another independence referendum, New Caledonia's future should be agreed with France in a political deal. Meanwhile, Flank's president, Christian Tain, has called France's treatment of the territory humiliating, and the Bougival deal a forced agreement proposed by Macron. So instead, flanks are proposing an alternative Kanaki agreement to be signed symbolically on New Caledonia Day, the 24th of September, aiming to achieve full sovereignty for New Caledonia before the 2027 French presidential election. While Flanks hasn't published a full draft, it's likely to present more concrete steps towards independence than Macron's, with provisions for the following: a Caledonian or Kanaki nationality, full control of sovereign powers, including defence, foreign affairs, justice and policing, economic sovereignty, including currency control, and international recognition, paving the way for membership of the UN. However, Flanks may struggle to generate support for their Kanaki agreement, given that Macron's Bougival agreement is backed by the entire non-independence bloc and the neutral Oceanian Awakening Party, as well as two more moderate pro-independence parties, Palika and the Progressive Union of Melanesia, which quit Flanks in August 2024. Aside from that, Flanks are also calling for fresh local elections in November, as New Caledonia's provincial elections have been postponed since the riots in May 2024. This is likely because they want to benefit from a surge in pro-independence sentiment after Macron's controversial electoral reforms last year, with independence parties performing surprisingly well at the July 2024 French legislative election. Turnout was almost twice as high as usual, and for the first time since 1986, a pro-independence candidate won a seat on France's National Assembly. Given that provincial assemblies wield most of New Caledonia's political power, their composition is crucial. Indeed, another reason why Flanks rejected the Bougival agreement is because it proposes delaying the local elections yet again to mid-2026. So what's the process from here? Well, this week, Valls has been in New Caledonia trying to establish the drafting committee for the final deal and shore up support from loyalist parties. Flanks has refused to participate in the committee but met on Tuesday with Valls, who tried to convince them to sign up to the agreement. While Flanks didn't comment on the talks, it's unlikely they'll have changed their position. Flanks are also concerned that France could try to force the deal through, and have called for peaceful resistance in New Caledonia if that happens. To be enshrined in the constitution, the deal requires a 3/5 supermajority of the French Congress, before then going to a local referendum in New Caledonia, currently scheduled for February 2026. If it passes, implementation will go ahead regardless of Flanks' opposition. Ultimately, France's long struggle with decolonisation doesn't seem to be easing, and Macron may risk further protests if he does proceed without Flanks support. It's safe to say that if you're invested in topics such as these, then you're also passionate about challenging yourself through online learning. While we're here to help you with that, our sponsor this week, Brilliant, are experts at pushing your learning to the next level. That's because Brilliant is an incredibly thorough learning platform designed to be uniquely effective in how you build skills every day. Their vast library of topics, from science to AI, all feature a perfect mix of engaging problems, competitive features, and daily encouragement that keeps you motivated and on track. Brilliant helps build your critical thinking skills through problem solving, not just memorizing. So while you're building real knowledge on specific topics, you'll also be becoming a better thinker. For example, if you're looking to build your mathematical intuition, Brilliant is the best place to go. Their newly updated maths courses focused on the most useful, applicable maths concepts, so you never feel like you're wasting your time. You'll start at the perfect level and work your way up through interactive challenges that bring abstract concepts to life. Whether you're at home or on the go, you can level up your maths skills wherever you are. To start your learning journey and try Brilliant for free, visit brilliant.org/TLDR, scan the QR code on screen, or you can click the link in the description. By doing so, you'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription, and they'll know that you came from us, which really helps us out.